Today, we explore the U.S. presidents who have passed away, delving into their gravesites and the circumstances of their final days. From the longest-lived to those who died mysteriously, we'll uncover the moments that shaped American history. If you're passionate about history, hit subscribe and join us on this journey through time. Let's dive in. 1. George Washington. George Washington, the first president, served from 1789 to 1797 and set crucial precedents for the nation. He died on December 14, 1799, from acute epiglottitis, worsened by medical practices, and is buried at Mount Vernon. 2. Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson, the third president, served from March 4, 1801 to March 4, 1809, and was pivotal in America's independence. He died on July 4, 1826, at 83 from toxemia, uremia, and pneumonia, and is buried at Monticello. 3. John Adams. John Adams, the second president, served from March 4, 1797 to March 4, 1801, and significantly shaped the early nation. He died on July 4, 1826, at 90 from heart failure, on the same day as Thomas Jefferson, and is buried in Quincy, Massachusetts. 4. James Monroe. James Monroe, the fifth president, served from March 4, 1817 to March 4, 1825, and influenced early American foreign policy. He died on July 4, 1831, at 73 from tuberculosis and heart failure, and is buried in New York City. 5. James Madison. James Madison, the fourth president and father of the Constitution, served from March 4, 1809 to March 4, 1817. He died on June 28, 1836, at 85 from heart failure, and is buried at Montpelier in Virginia. 6. William Henry Harrison. William Henry Harrison, the ninth president of the United States, served the shortest presidency from March 4, 1841 to April 4, 1841, lasting only 31 days. He died at the age of 68 from pneumonia and enteric fever. Harrison is buried in North Bend, Ohio, remembered for his brief tenure as president. 7. Andrew Jackson. Andrew Jackson, the seventh president, served from March 4, 1829 to March 4, 1837, known for his controversial policies. He died on June 8, 1845, at 78 from chronic dropsy and heart failure, and is buried at the Hermitage in Nashville. 8. John Quincy Adams, served from March 4, 1825 to March 4, 1829, died on February 23, 1848, at the age of 80. Adams, who later served in Congress, died of a stroke. He is buried in Quincy, Massachusetts. 9. James K. Polk, served from March 4, 1845 to March 4, 1849, died on June 15, 1849, at the age of 53. Polk, who expanded the U.S. territory significantly, died of cholera. His gravesite is in Nashville, Tennessee. 10. Zachary Taylor. Zachary Taylor, the 12th President of the United States, served from March 4, 1849 to July 9, 1850. He died at the age of 65 on July 9, 1850, in Washington, D.C., from gastroenteritis. His gravesite is in Jefferson County, KY, in northeast Louisville. 11. John Tyler. John Tyler, the 10th President of the United States, served from April 4, 1841 to March 4, 1845. He died on January 18, 1862, at the age of 71, from a stroke in Richmond, Virginia. His gravesite is in Hollywood Cemetery in Richmond, Virginia. 12. Martin Van Buren. Martin Van Buren, the 8th President of the United States, served from March 4, 1837 to March 4, 1841. He died on July 24, 1862, at the age of 79, from asthma and heart failure in Kinderhook, New York. His gravesite is in Kinderhook, New York. 13. Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, served from March 4, 1861, to April 15, 1865. He died on April 15, 1865, at the age of 56, from a gunshot wound in Washington, D.C. His gravesite is in Oak Ridge Cemetery, Springfield, Illinois. 14. James Buchanan. James Buchanan, the 15th President of the United States, served from March 4, 1857, to March 4, 1861. He died on June 1, 1868, at the age of 77, from respiratory failure and rheumatic gout in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. His gravesite is in Woodward Cemetery in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. 15. Franklin Pierce. Franklin Pierce, the 14th President of the United States, served from March 4, 1853, to March 4, 1857. He died on October 8, 1869, at the age of 64, from inflammation of the stomach and cirrhosis of the liver in Concord, New Hampshire. His gravesite is in Concord Cemetery in Concord, New Hampshire. 16. Millard Fillmore. Millard Fillmore, the 13th President of the United States, served from July 9, 1850, to March 4, 1853. He died on March 8, 1874, at the age of 74, from a stroke in Buffalo, New York. His gravesite is in Forest Lawn Cemetery in Buffalo, New York. 17. Andrew Johnson. Andrew Johnson, the 17th President of the United States, served from April 15, 1865, to March 4, 1869. He died on July 31, 1875, at the age of 66, from a stroke in Carter Station, Tennessee. His gravesite is in Greenwood Cemetery in Nashville, Tennessee. 18. James A. Garfield. James A. Garfield, the 20th President of the United States, served from March 4, 1881, until his death on September 19, 1881. He died at the age of 49 from septic shock resulting from the medical care of a gunshot wound in Elberon, New Jersey. His gravesite is in Lakeview Cemetery in Cleveland, Ohio. 19. Ulysses S. Grant. Ulysses S. Grant, the 18th President of the United States, served from March 4, 1869, to March 4, 1877. He died on July 23, 1885, at the age of 63 from throat cancer in Moreau, New York. His gravesite is in Grant's tomb in New York City. 20. Chester A. Arthur. Chester A. Arthur, the 21st President of the United States, served from September 19, 1881, to March 4, 1885. He died on November 18, 1886, at the age of 57 from a stroke in New York City, New York. His gravesite is in Albany Rural Cemetery in Albany, New York. 21. Rutherford B. Hayes. Rutherford B. Hayes, the 19th President of the United States, served from March 4, 1877, to March 4, 1881. He died on January 17, 1893, at the age of 70 from a heart attack in Fremont, Ohio. His gravesite is in Spiegel Grove in Fremont, Ohio. 22. Benjamin Harrison. Benjamin Harrison, the 23rd President of the United States, served from March 4, 1889, to March 4, 1893. He died on March 13, 1901, at the age of 67 from pneumonia in Indianapolis, Indiana. His gravesite is in Crown Hill Cemetery in Indianapolis, Indiana. 23. William McKinley. William McKinley, the 25th President of the United States, served from March 4, 1897, until his death on September 14, 1901. He died at the age of 58 from gangrene, resulting from a gunshot wound in Buffalo, New York. His gravesite is in McKinley, Canton, Ohio. 24. Grover Cleveland. Grover Cleveland, the 22nd President of the United States, served from March 4, 1885, to March 4, 1889. He died on June 24, 1908, at the age of 71 from coronary sclerosis, paralysis, or intestinal obstruction in Princeton, New Jersey. His gravesite is in Princeton Cemetery in Princeton, New Jersey. 25. Theodore Roosevelt. Theodore Roosevelt, the 26th President of the United States, served from September 14, 1901, to March 4, 1909. He died on January 6, 1919, at the age of 60 from coronary occlusion by a blood clot in Oyster Bay, New York. His gravesite is in Young's Memorial Cemetery in Oyster Bay, New York. 26. Warren G. Harding. Warren G. Harding, the 29th President of the United States, served from March 4, 1921, until his death on August 2, 1923. He died at the age of 57 from a heart attack in San Francisco, California. His gravesite is in Marion, Ohio. 27. Woodrow Wilson. Woodrow Wilson, the 28th President of the United States, served from March 4, 1913, to March 4, 1921. He died on February 3, 1924, at the age of 67 from a stroke in Washington, D.C. His gravesite is in Bethlehem Chapel, in the crypt of Washington Cathedral. 28. William Howard Taft. William Howard Taft, the 27th President of the United States, served from March 4, 1909, to March 4, 1913. He died on March 8, 1930, at the age of 72 from heart disease in Washington, D.C. His gravesite is in Arlington National Cemetery in Arlington, Virginia. 29. Calvin Coolidge. Calvin Coolidge, the 30th President of the United States, served from August 2, 1923, to March 4, 1929. He died on January 5, 1933, at the age of 60 from a heart attack in Northampton, Massachusetts. His gravesite is in Coolidge State Historic Site in Plymouth, Vermont. 30. Franklin D. Roosevelt. Franklin D. Roosevelt, the 32nd President of the United States, served from March 4, 1933, until his death on April 12, 1945. He died at the age of 63 from a cerebral hemorrhage in Warm Springs, Georgia. His gravesite is in the home of Franklin D. Roosevelt National Historic Site in Hyde Park, New York. 31. John F. Kennedy. John F. Kennedy, the 35th President of the United States, served from January 20, 1961, until his death on November 22, 1963. He died at the age of 46 from a gunshot wound in Dallas, Texas. His gravesite is in Arlington National Cemetery in Virginia. 32. Herbert Hoover. Herbert Hoover, the 31st President of the United States, served from March 4, 1929, to March 4, 1933. He died on October 20, 1964, at the age of 90 from internal hemorrhage and upper gastrointestinal bleeding in New York City, New York. His gravesite is in the Herbert Hoover Presidential Library and Museum in West Branch, Iowa. 33. Dwight D. Eisenhower. Dwight D. Eisenhower, the 34th President of the United States, served from January 20, 1953, to January 20, 1961. He died on March 28, 1969, at the age of 78 from heart failure in Washington, D.C. His gravesite is in Eisenhower's hometown of Abilene, Kansas. 34. Harry S. Truman. Harry S. Truman, the 33rd President of the United States, served from April 12, 1945, to January 20, 1953. He died on December 26, 1972, at the age of 88 from minor lung congestion and organ failures in Kansas City, Missouri. His gravesite is in Dwight D. Eisenhower Presidential Library and Museum in Abilene, Kansas. 35. Lyndon B. Johnson. Lyndon B. Johnson, the 36th President of the United States, served from November 22, 1963 to January 20, 1969. He died on January 22, 1973, at the age of 64 from a heart attack in Johnson City, Texas. His gravesite is in Johnson National Historic Park near Stonewall, Texas. 36. Richard Nixon. Richard Nixon, the 37th President of the United States, served from January 20, 1969 to August 9, 1974. He died on April 22, 1994, at the age of 81 from a stroke, paralysis, and swelling of the brain in New York, New York. His gravesite is in Richard Nixon Library and Museum in Yorba Linda, California. 37. Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan, the 40th President of the United States, served from January 20, 1981 to January 20, 1989. He died on June 5, 2004, at the age of 93 from Alzheimer's disease and pneumonia in Los Angeles, California. His gravesite is in Ronald Reagan Presidential Library in Simi Valley, California. 38. Gerald Ford. Gerald Ford, the 38th President of the United States, served from August 9, 1974 to January 20, 1977. He died on December 26, 2006, at the age of 93 from arteriosclerotic cerebrovascular disease and diffuse arteriosclerosis in Rancho Mirage, California. His gravesite is in Gerald R. Ford Presidential Museum in Grand Rapids, Michigan. 39. George H.W. Bush. George H.W. Bush, the 41st President of the United States, served from January 20, 1989 to January 20, 1993. He died on November 30, 2018, at the age of 94 from Parkinson's disease in Houston, Texas. His gravesite is in George H.W. Bush Presidential Library and Museum, Texas. And that's the story of U.S. presidents whose legacies continue to shape history, even in death. If you enjoyed this journey, hit the like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to Today in History for more historical deep dives. Ring the notification bell to stay updated, and let us know what you'd like to see next. Thanks for watching. History is full of stories waiting to be discovered.